Hey everybody, just doing a little bit of a table update slash comparison of some of the early Infinity miniatures that I'd purchased. Some of them are recent purchases of old models, some of them are models I've had all along, with also miniatures that I have recently purchased that are more current models. And just wanted to talk a little bit about them, just show a little bit of my force that I put together, what I'm doing with them. I do apologize, there's a little bit of a hum in the background of my 3D printer that I have going at the moment. I'm actually printing up some Infinity terrain right now. And so, yeah, I started printing, I started my Infinity Force by doing this tag here. This is what they call an Infinity a tag. It's a larger robot sort of model. This is a really heavy model, and I'd have to say this is one of the more difficult models that I've had to put together in a long time. Now, this is an older model, in all fairness. It is a bit piddly as far as the hip joints and just getting everything to stay. Some of the fit was really quite good, like in the shoulders here and like this piece on the back. I mean, some of it was really spot on, but to get this guy to stand, you have a lot of weight on your hips, and wasn't too happy with the joins there. But because this is a heavy model, I put my own custom base that I did, I printed it off. I ended up pinning the feet and doing a little bit of green stuff on the base in order to have this guy somewhat stable on here. One of the things that I was planning on doing, because this particular model has a bit of a, in the game Infinity, this one has Pan-Oceania is, to my best understanding, is a little bit of our current West today, you know, in the sense of it's the Western world. But they have different sub-factions within them, and this one is the Jotun has a bit more of a Scandinavian influence, I believe. And I decided I wanted to put some snow effect when I'm finished with this. I'm going to put it around the foot and on this sort of high-tech base as if it's in sort of Scandinavia, kind of in a wintry area. I actually, in all my time in modeling and hobbying, I've really never done snow effects, and so I wanted something that I could do kind of quick and dirty, and I looked at the Woodland Scenic sort of flocky snow that they have, and there's some different mediums you can mix it with. And I wasn't really too sure because they didn't seem to have at my hobby store the right one I needed. So I looked into the textures from GW, because some of these technical paints from GW can be really quite good. And I watched a little review, and it seemed like I can get some buildup with this right out of the bottle, and it could potentially work pretty well. So I picked this up. So I don't know if you guys have had any experience with this, but that'll be interesting to try. So this is a bit of a monstrosity. He's my big guy on the table, the first one that I've got. I do plan on getting more tags, but and so I wanted to talk today a little bit about the differences between Corvus Belli's sculpting and casting, but from sort of early days to now. Now, these four here are a support pack that I just purchased, and they are actually in more of a modern box. So they sort of re-released them in a modern box, but these are really early miniatures to my knowledge. These four are at various stages around the beginning of, towards the beginning of Infinity. I was in second edition when I actually purchased these four. I suspect that they actually are an evolution between first and second and up to third edition. And then these ones are definitely more geared towards third edition miniatures. So it's interesting. Clearly, when you look at some of the size, there is a size difference where the miniatures have gotten bigger. So if you look at something that's meant to be somewhat humanoid, and you actually put them next to each other, humanoid and sort of, not a heavy infantry character, even if I zoom in here to these two, put them right next to each other there, I guess the height isn't really too different, to be honest. I thought it would be. But He's meant to be a bit more of a heroic character, and if you look at them, he's definitely not as beefy of a guy. Like, this is an infantry model, and this is more of a heroic character. And he does look a little smaller compared to some of my other stuff on the table, I would say. Another example might be this one, which is I expect is a little bit of a later model within the second generation. This is a Spec Op for, so really a bit more of, I guess, I think it's light infantry, perhaps medium infantry. And definitely about the same height, but I would say slimmer in comparison to this guy here, which is a third edition. I do really like this model, despite that. I actually think they did a really good job with this. I really like them. So, since we're talking about comparators, not all of them do seem to be a lot different in size. In that, I look at the Hospitaller model that I had from early on, one of the first Hospitallers, Knights, so a heavy infantry model. And when I compare him to something like this Orc model, you can see he's kind of crouched down, but he's actually quite big. I actually think he sizes up very well with that Orc. That's third edition. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of variability on the sizes, but I think that it basically works. Another one I was just going to mention is this Knight, which I had from sort of second edition. I think he's leaning backwards, but he actually sizes up, I think, just fine with this Orc, which is a large model. Not bad. And then this Father Knight is actually quite big. And I don't know if it's intended to be, but I have a light shining directly above just because they're metal, just to show some of the contrast a little better on camera. But he's actually quite large. He's also standing with his foot on a piece of machinery, standing up. So he does look big, but I think it still works, to be honest. I don't think it's bad. So before I get into the casting piece, what I was just going to say is that I do really like, initially, the Fusiliers. This is a Fusilier hacker that I'd never painted up from sort of the early days. And I really, even though it's not the same model they're portraying here, I really enjoyed putting these guys together, like seeing the design that they had. The sculpting is just exquisite. I mean, I love my metal miniatures, but even, if you look, I'm going to try to get a good zoom on this guy's face. If you look at this guy's face, it's just exquisite. For those of you that are still sort of learning, or that are watching the channel that aren't familiar with this game is sort of modern future. I mean, it's set. I believe it's set within the next couple hundred years, not thousands of years. So there's a lot that you can recognize even within this sort of genre for today. Like there is like more advanced technology and stuff, but you can still kind of envision some of this stuff. It's not that far out. But yeah, you look at his face, it's really quite good. They also, with Infinity, are known for having some female models that are, emphasizing the female form. But really beautiful miniatures. If you look at the face and the detail, the sculpting, it's really quite good. And I love that. One of the things that I was going to say is that I've had a lot of discussions around like metal miniatures versus plastic, fixed model, or single cast miniatures versus multiple components, whether it be plastic or metal. I oftentimes am a big proponent of single cast metal models. The reason why I like it is that, but despite being metal as a medium that I love for miniatures, I like the fact that the poses look more realistic, that a sculptor can sculpt something that looks very realistic, and it's not, oftentimes when it's done in components, it's done so you can vary the model so they don't all look alike. But in my opinion, the result is usually people with like arms that are going in all different directions straight, and they don't look realistic at all. And so I almost just prefer to have the single cast model that has realistic form. Now, Corvus Belli with these models, they kind of capture the best of both worlds, unless you really want to vary your model a lot, then they don't. What they have here is the beauty that you could actually find in a single cast model, in that it's just conformed. I mean, here even the fit, and I haven't got into the casting yet, is just perfect here. The way both hands line up and it fits on here, it all just pieces together beautifully. But it has, you know, just that single cast sort of look, even though it's multiple components. Now, I don't understand enough about the casting process to know why they wouldn't just do this as a single cast. I suspect it has something to do with the mold process, that you can get a better mold by cutting it up and having, you know, it spin as individual pieces rather than the one piece, just to perfect the cast. That's my suspicion. But this to me is just really gorgeous. What I found, not all the old models were horrible to put together. Like, these guys are simple. Little PAL bots, they're support bots, you know, and really it's just the head and the two arms and the body, and it was just really easy to put together. And they're nice little models. I've always liked Corvus Belli's sculpting, their figs. They're just amazing. I love them. Even this doctor was actually surprisingly easier than I thought, because I had to put this hand on, just the hand at the end, and I thought, because I cut it where the wrist joint was, I didn't think that'd be a good enough fit to get it to easily come together. But it actually came together great. It was really quite good. And so this was quite easy to put together, despite it being an early model. And really looks good. I mean, the actual expression on the face is really quite good for this older sculpt of theirs. Shouting, "Get over here, quick!" So this one here, this guy's kind of a bit gnarly. This mechanic, this interesting model. They really probably need to redo this guy, in my opinion. But he's actually important in a game where you have machinery and stuff to keep your machines going. And so needed to get him. And the two little bots are meant to work with him. So yeah, you know, I'll just show this work a little more up close than what I did before. Overall, I really found the new models to be a joy to put together. I really feel that they're sculpting, like, I like the design change where they've increased the size on the models. I do think it looks really good. I like the improvements that they did in their casting. Like, everything that's newer fit together like a glove. Like, it just, these pieces just went in and they have their mold, you know, indentations to meet where the body and the arm go in such a way that even some of the framing of the piece fits with it. It just all went together for the most part beautifully. Most of the Fusiliers where they, and the Father Knight where they had multiple hands touching a weapon with separate arms, they all went together beautifully. And so it makes me want to buy more from Corvus Belli. Like, it makes me want to do more miniatures after these ones in the future, because I just really think they're great. So that's really all I wanted to do, is just kind of show off what I've got on the table. I did actually 3D print these bases, and I thought those came out kind of nice. So these are 25 mil. And as I mentioned earlier, I did the one for the tag that is a larger base too. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to painting these guys up. I still have a couple of more miniatures. This is pretty much most of what I've got to add to my current collection, which is quite a bit here, because you would never use like everything that I have. I mean, it would be a selection that you would choose for a particular mission to try to leverage different types of characters. But I still have the expand, the Beyond Operation Ice Storm, the box that I showed you. There's a one where I split with a friend where I got 3 miniatures to plus a bonus miniature that's like a mercenary from that, and he got 3 nomads from it. And those ones are going to be interesting to slip into a generic or a different type of sectorial. I used to play the military orders, and I'm still planning on it as a sectorial, but I think with the large number of miniatures, like this guy you can't use in military anymore, at least in the military orders sectorial, and so I would have to play either another sectorial or just the generic kind of Pan-Oceania lists to use them. And I have a lot more, like the Orc and Fusiliers are fine, but I think it's the Orc in particular here, and then in some of the Beyond Ice Storm box, most of those characters are not military orders, and so I'd probably be branching out, doing more generic as well as other types of sectorial as well with some of the miniatures I have. So yeah, so really excited to paint these up, and I hope you guys are doing well. Take care.